everyone, and welcome to Your Today. I am always excited when we have this time to get together, and today's episode promises to be nothing short of transformational. As we've been continuing to move into 2022, we have all seen ways and times where we are snapping at each other, where we can't seem to hold our tongue, where we're making all of these changes based on temporary situations. So today in our show, we want to begin a dialogue and discussion about don't make any sudden moves. Here's why. When you think about the moves that you make, oftentimes they're done with intention and sometimes they're done unintentionally, but they all yield consequences for which we oftentimes do not expect. So today, welcome to A Balanced Life. I am equally excited about our first guest that we have today, Dr. Tierney Hodges-Murad. Let me just say, this young woman is going to bring to us content, information, dialogue. So grab your pen, grab your pad, get your paper together. Let's start our conversation with Dr. Tierney. Hey, Dr. Tierney.
Hey, Dr. Jacquie, how are you?
I am doing good. I am so excited that you are here. So tell our audience about yourself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, everyone. You're excited that I'm here. I'm more excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on this amazing broadcast. So my name is Dr. Tierney Hodges-Murad. I am a professional life coach. I'm a professional speaker. I am a consultant. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I wear many hats. I'm mom to a fur baby. So I am that kind of self-proclaimed superwoman that does a lot, wears a lot of hats, and still likes to try to find that space that I can invest in others while also investing in myself and making sure that I stay balanced at the same time. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, that's a very big nutshell, seriously, because when I think about all that you do and the time during this pandemic, and I think it may have been just before the pandemic, you were writing a book, became a coach. You were still a professor at a university, and you, as you said, do wear a lot of hats, but somehow you still manage to maintain your sanity.
Yes, by the grace of God.
Maintaining our sanity, when we think about what it means to live a balanced life is not always easy. And one of the things that you talk about in your book on Level Up, and I love the concept of it, and I know that you will share, but leveling up doesn't always mean you have to hide in the background. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shrink from who you are in order to make other people happy. So share with us a little bit about what leveling up looks like, and then also the time that it takes to slow down your pace so that you can become the best at what you do.
Absolutely. So first things first, let's address kind of what is leveling up, because I think a lot of people have a lot of definitions for that. But oftentimes when we think about leveling up and we're kind of charting the course for our next level, we focus heavily on the external aspects, right? Obtaining the degree, securing the job, climbing the corporate ladder, finding the mate, having the kids, losing the weight, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But in my expertise, I've found that the secret to truly leveling up and achieving the life that we desire, it's not about the trophies of life. It's about finding that true happiness and paying really close attention to what's happening on our innermost selves, our innermost thoughts, feelings, beliefs, habits, those things that often go unnoticed that we just kind of brush past and think that they don't amount to anything. I really started to hone in on that. And like I told you earlier, just by the grace of God, I maintained my sanity. And that comes from just my full belief in Jesus and just being a Christian and knowing that we prosper as our soul prospers. So when we're talking about leveling up, it's first looking at our innermost selves, our innermost souls. How is our inner selves prospering? And that's not necessarily saying that we have to fall into the background, but it's showing up boldly, in terms of who we are and whose we are. And from that place, then going after those things that we then want to do, not getting our do in front of our who, but really focusing in on who we are and then focusing in on the do.
Wow, I love what you just stated. And one of the things that resonated as you were talking, our attention goes to where our energy flows. And conversely, our
Hmm.
energy flows where our attention goes. So if we're
Hmm.
not being intentional, if we're not taking the time to really figure out and order the steps that we need to take, it's very easy to get off balance and find
Absolutely.
ourselves just falling by the wayside. Dr. Tierney, when you talk about how we level up, and you stated something that was important, giving yourself space. Can you talk for a little bit, a moment, about the grace that you need to give yourself? Because we often try to
Mm.
strive for perfection, and
Yes.
sometimes it's seemingly unattainable. What does that
Yeah.
look like when we talk about leveling up?
Oh goodness. This is a big one here because I work with a lot of clients that are super women, wearing a lot of hats. And oftentimes we're so hard on ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves because we didn't get the floor mopped. We didn't make the kids' lunch just right, or we didn't do this at work just right. And we put ourselves in this box of perfectionism and head knowledge. We know that nobody's perfect. We know that it won't be perfect, but that doesn't stop us from striving for that anyway. And so that's the thing that I definitely talk with my clients about. It's not about perfectionism, it's about doing things in excellence to the best of our ability and giving ourselves some grace when we don't necessarily get to that particular task that we wanted to do in that day. There's always tomorrow. It's okay if the floor didn't get mopped. Life isn't going to end if the dishes are still in the sink. But giving ourselves that grace so that we're not beating ourselves up, telling ourselves that we need to do more, be better, and from that negative space, thinking that that will then fuel our efficiency. It's really from a place of self love and self care and self worth, and that peace that then we find that we're more productive in that way. It's like trying to put diesel fuel in our car and expecting it to go. That's what happens when we try to put in that do better, do more, can do, grind it out. It just wears us down, and then we wonder why we're not able to get all of the things done that we want to. And so having that grace for yourself is critical in order for you to really reach those goals that you're striving for.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
I want to bring in all of our guests because I think that this is a conversation, a dialogue that we should all have together. You guys know Dr. Titani Harris. She's in Chicago. She's a licensed therapist, and she brings some information to the table that helps us to discover what it means to have a safe space. We have again with us this week, I'm always excited, Charlotte Avery, PhD, family strategist. She's in motherhood. She's telling us what it means. And then, of course, Mocha Lee, our fitness guru. And I tell you, ladies, when you think about what it means to not make any sudden moves, sometimes it's hard to press the pause button in our lives. I want to turn for just a moment as we have this group conversation to Dr. Tierney first, in a sense that one of the things that Dr. Tierney stated was how to give yourself space and grace and, how to level up. Oh my goodness, Tanny, can you talk to us for a few minutes about how powering down and possibly seeking wise counsel from a therapist can aid us in knowing how not to make sudden moves and fall into traps of our vices?
Yes, hello everybody, and Dr. Jacquie. I received the future Dr. Tanny, not yet, but it's in the making, as I am a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. But yes, I think initially when we think about when to seek counsel, I always tell clients how to recognize when you need to seek counsel is recognizing when enough is enough, right? As Dr. Tierney talked about, especially as women and being in that superwoman role as a mother, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, I think the first thing is to realize, like, when you're in that state, do I feel emotionally drained, right? That's one sign. Another sign is, do I recognize myself, right? Do I recognize myself in this moment? Something else is, am I making excuses for myself or for others as these things come along? And then if you find yourself not that you have to always be happy, but if you're rarely happy or filled with joy, I think those are some of the signs to let you know that it's time to seek counsel in those moments.
Ooh, ooh, let me
Mhm.
unpack that for a second.
Mhm.
All right, y'all, think
Mhm.
about that
That's
for a second,
good.
okay?
That's good. That's good stuff.
Did I go too deep?
You hit
I
right.
need to
Yes,
unpack that because she said your warning signs are when you're not happy or unfilled with joy. And oftentimes we just run past those emotions like they don't even matter.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So Mocha, talk to me for a minute about that because, and Mocha, I love you. Now today, I'm not even gonna ask you to do any fitness.
No workout today.
Maybe. It depends. We're gonna find out because I wanted to hear your voice about that perspective of running too fast too soon. Sometimes people can push themselves to limits that are beyond their own capacity. How detrimental is that to us both mentally, emotionally, and physically?
So this is the best conversation ever because I have so many clients who are doing just what we're talking about. Dr. Tierney said wearing themselves out. I call it burning the candle at both ends. And sometimes those of us who are A-type personalities, we just can't help it. It's like we just go, 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 go. So I would say the 3 tips that I give to my clients over and over again is simple. First of all, get your sleep. Go to bed. Can you just take your butt to bed, please, and stop piddling around at night? It's almost like I know that there's stuff that has to get done, but at some point you just have to shut it down because the sleep is where your body is repairing itself, and so you have to get the sleep. It's crucial. And if you get the sleep, guess what? You could wake up early enough to do what? Get your prayer and meditation in first thing in the morning to start your day. Because if you wake up, hit the alarm and just start flying, you haven't even rooted and grounded yourself and asked God, okay, what do you want me to do today? So the sleep is important. That morning meditation is crucial. And then also in terms of workouts, and thinking about how to benefit your body, it doesn't always have to be Zumba and dancing and lifting hard weights. Sometimes, guess what? Break it on down and chill out and do a yoga class, okay? It could just even be 15 minutes. Breathing, that heavy breathing is just essential. It's good for stress relief. So it could be a yoga class, Pilates. I just really enjoy helping people do those type of movements and workouts and classes because your body needs it. Your mind needs it too. So that's really my advice in terms of just thinking about how to slow down and put yourself first. It's all about prioritizing. It really is.
Wow. Let's talk about priorities because the amazing Charlotte Avery, wife to 1, mother of 7, when you think, Charlotte, about how you prioritize and blend your day with all that you do in being Charlotte Avery, how do you not make any sudden moves when you're having to tend to the needs of so many, including Charlotte Avery?
Oh my gosh. So, you pretty much gave a good part of my resume. Everybody knows, I am a wife of 1, mom of 7, and I always say the owner of no pets because I don't have any time for that. But here's the thing, like for me, when I'm at a place of prioritizing or feeling like I'm overwhelmed or I feel like everything is about to crash and cave, I do what I call the Charlotte ABCs. And one thing that I do is I check my attitude, I check my behavior, and I check my communication. Because if my attitude is off, my behavior is off, and my communication is off, then everything and everybody is going to get the brunt of whatever it is that I'm dealing with. So for me, I really try to always assess those ABCs for myself before, I make any quick decisions or moves and a lot of times before I say anything, because, when I wrote the book, the 40-day Tone of Voice Tone Down, I wrote that book because, I tell people all the time, sometimes when we introduce ourselves, we say, my name is so-and-so. And I felt like, I was at a place in my life when I had to be like, hi, my name is Charlotte. I'm a recovering yeller. And, when I had to check myself and I had to check my mouth and my behavior and everything that I was doing and seeing how toxic it was in my household, not because of anybody else, but because of me, then it really changed the game and how I was doing everything, not only for myself, but for my family, for my clients, and for other people. And so I really just had to, put those ABCs in place so that I could now say, okay, what are my priorities? Because what I found is that when I'm overwhelmed, it's usually because a priority or something is out of balance or out of sync, or I'm doing too much, or I'm feeling inadequate about something. And I always have to check myself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ladies, you have given us a wealth of information that I know that our audience will be able to use. I know that people are going to be typing in the chat. They're going to be sending us text messages. So as we're watching the shows and we're thinking about how we're communicating and elevating all the people around us, when we come back after the break, I want to do a little bit of a one-on-one with future Dr. Tanny. That's my name for her because she knows I have high hopes and dreams and aspirations for the work that she does. But when we come back after the break here at A Balanced Life, I want to have a little conversation about therapy for dealing with toxicity. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back. I'm so excited to bring on our next guest. Having these conversations with Titani Harris is definitely illuminating. So, Tanny, let's have a little bit of a dialogue and conversation about something Charlotte just said. And oftentimes we can work and function in our own way, in our own head. We have a general idea how to deal with some things. But when we think about the people in our space, and then even sometimes we can become a little toxic. I know y'all are out there saying, I'm not toxic. I don't talk to people crazy. So if you're watching this show, put yourself in that box and say, I may have toxic tendencies. So I want to talk to Titani Harris just a few moments about how do you identify and recognize toxicity? Because sometimes when we think about not making any sudden moves, we don't know how to put a bubble in our mouth and just hold it before we say something that could harm people. We don't know how not to fly off the handle. We don't know and position ourselves not to send these text messages that cannot go away. We don't know yet how not to put things on social media that are going to be there forever. So Titani Harris, can you share with us the role that therapy plays in first working on ourselves in identifying whether or not we're toxic? And then secondly, how do we find resources to have those conversations about toxicity and how therapy can aid us?
And I often get asked this a lot by clients. So one of the things I talk to folks about is what toxicity is, right? So I think always the first thing is to look at self, right? Especially when we talk about our relationships with others. So before we send that text message, before we post that post on Facebook, before we curse that person out, ask ourselves, are these feelings real and where are they coming from, right? Where are these feelings coming from that I want to go off on somebody or be angry or be upset? That's one thing. The second thing is ask yourself, what lens am I looking at this person from? Is this am I being triggered at the moment, right? And when we talk about therapy in terms of working on ourselves, a good therapist will first start with you, because we are the key to all relationships, right? And we know that it takes two people to make a relationship work. And also a lot of our issues become relational. And what I mean is they're often related to someone else, whether it's a family member, somebody at work, a significant other. Those issues often start with another person.
Wow. So our issues sometimes stem from within. It could be how we were raised. It could be the environment in which we find ourselves. And I know environment plays a very big part in how not only we assess what we can do, but how we feel a level of comfortability to engage other people in this society, Tanny, where, people are, you kind of hate to get involved in a road rage situation. You don't want to flip somebody off at a light. You don't want to bump the basket into somebody's car in the parking lot, because I think we've all had it up to here. But the sudden moves that people can make can often mean life-threatening for other people. Why is it important to press pause in your own life so that the consequences of your actions don't hinder your success in life as a person?
I think you just touched on it. The consequences of your actions will hinder yourself. You just said that. And so oftentimes we're very impulsive, right? Because we're rushing, we're trying to get from point A to point B, and these emotions are kind of just caught up. And so I think it's acknowledging what's happening for yourself in the moment. And a lot of times we do need therapy, right? We need that space and that person to help us sort of process what's happening for us.
Very nice. So for just a few minutes, Mocha and Charlotte, you guys are parents, and I want to phrase this just right. So Tanny is not a parent. I'm not a parent.
Not biologically.
Yes, not biologically. Tierney, we're mothers to all. We don't have kids. So, but when I think about the conversation that we're having, I'd like to hear from the parents about how do you help your children, one, know they're in a safe space with you to talk about whatever they want to, but how do you instill in them the values of the home to then take out to the school, to their organizations, to their athletic clubs? Because a lot of it does start at home, and what you model as parents. I know you don't want to get that call from the principal. So share with us, how do you help your kids not make any sudden moves and just press pause for a moment?
So I would like to address that. There's a scripture in Proverbs that says a man without self-control is like a house with his doors and windows knocked down. Mm-hmm. And that is a particular scripture that I started teaching my firstborn when he could talk, because I could see some of the things that were just really inside of him. And sometimes when he would have aggression things or whatever, and I would tell him, you have to have self-control. And I would tell my children, I also tell them, there are penalties and rewards for the decisions and the choices that you make. You're going to either reap the reward or you're going to pay the penalty. Which one do you want? And so these are things that I started instilling in our children for, since they were very little people, because you can't start instilling things in your kids when they're like 4 and 5. You've got to start when they're very young. And so I did that. And also my husband and I, we try to let our children, we've always tried to let them know that we are safe people. We are a safe space. Your home is a safe space. And if you always tell us the truth, whether you did something bad or you didn't, we will always have your back. And so our children know, as long as they're respectful and everything, that they can talk to us about whatever they want, they can share with us about whatever they want. But the thing is that you have to respect us, you have to respect yourself, you have to respect other people around you. And those things and those principles that we started teaching our children at very young ages have followed them from elementary school to middle school to high school, because I have children in all those, very varying schools right now. But I can tell you what, when I ask my children, a man without self-control is what? They can finish that because it is in them. And so, I'm really happy about it. It doesn't mean that our children are perfect, but our children need to know that we are a safe space and that we can have conversations, and they can have conversations without the penalty of whatever that backlash might be or whatever they feel.
Excellent. Thank you. Mocha.
Oh my goodness, ditto. That was beautiful, Charlotte. I totally agree. On all levels, because I have two daughters, and we also believe in scripture. And there is a devotional called Jesus Calling, and the kids' version of that just allows them to read one devotional each day in the morning, and that's how I encourage my girls to start their day. And also in our household, we let them know, me and my husband, that it's open communication. You know, we have to be able to talk, and especially as these teen years are creeping up on me, I need to let my girls know that they can come to us and talk. And then, of course, you know, I can't help myself, but I encourage all parents to get their children involved in sports. And that's simply because there's something about being an athlete, or at least being somewhat, you know, involved in activities such as sports, that gives you a sense of confidence and teamwork, and you know, and it's just it's a good way to let off steam. So of course I have some little scholar athletes in my house, and I just love what Charlotte said about instilling those Bible verses, because at the end of the day, they just have to know they can, you know, that Jesus is the one who is guiding them and helping them and directing them. And they just need to keep that in mind, so that they keep that little bit of fear also, because that's where the respect comes.
Absolutely. That anxiety that children often feel when they're in that space of unknowing, when they don't know who to turn to. And I know, Mocha, I said I wasn't going to ask you to do any workouts, but I know that there are a lot of viewers who are like, I'm not a believer, I'm not a Christian, and you've given me scripture. And I identify and recognize that there's God's law and there's man law. So the consequences of just society and the rules of engagement and what you need to follow are very important. But for parents who are dealing with children who do have anxiety, who have panic attacks, and don't necessarily know how to press pause, put a bubble in their mouth, or even just know how to express themselves, what are just a few workout things or tips that you have to help children calm themselves down so that they can find a safe space to begin to articulate themselves?
Oh, wow. Yes, the calming comes from the breath. And literally, I just can think of an example last year when my daughter who's a gymnast, was flipping around in the living room and fell in a strange way on her neck. And literally it kind of caused a spasm. And I immediately just went, that's the first time I saw her literally panicking. I said, okay, Joy, you have to breathe, inhale through your nose, exhale out of your mouth. And literally we had to just sit there and breathe. And it's just something about the breath and focusing on an inhale and maybe even a pause at the top and then an exhale. Breathing is so good for children with anxiety. Visualization, helping them think about other happy places that they've been. And then sometimes just distraction factors. So for example, with yoga and workouts, if you ask a child to do the tree pose, most of you guys know what the tree pose is. It's when you have your hands up and your foot on the side of your leg, and it's wobbly, but you're forcing yourself to really focus and be intentional about tightening your body, and things like poses force you to just be in the moment. So when you're in the moment, you don't really have time to be thinking about whatever just made you fearful or what you're afraid of in the future. You're just in the here and now. And being still and being in the here and now is just something I wish I had learned it at an earlier age. So I'm really trying to teach my children that now. And even when I just teach group classes to kids, it's all about being in the moment and learning how to breathe. Breathe through your anxiety.
Now that's a really good tip. Breathing through your anxiety.
Can I add to that?
I was
really
going to
quick?
ask.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to add to that because, you know, we are, as parents, we are the example for our children and how to communicate and to talk and to deal with our stress levels. So when parents can be a good example, you know, as far as, you know, like Mocha was saying, working out and how we deal with our own stress, then our children will start to also mirror our behavior. But one other thing I wanted to say is sometimes, you know, we have to be able to know every child has a different bent. You know, I have 7 children and all of them have completely different personalities. And I have one child who sometimes her form of communicating with me is writing things down and telling me how she feels, whether it's something that I did or something that somebody else did. And so sometimes at night, I will go in my room when I'm getting ready for bed, and I'll have a note on my pillow that says, "Dear mommy, such and such and such, and I felt this way, or I felt that you talked to me this way and it hurt my feelings," or whatever. And then, it gives me an opportunity to read what she said, and the fact that she took the time to put that and pin it on paper. And it gives me a moment to sit with it and then to go and have a very productive and constructive conversation with her. So there are so many different forms of communication, and we have to really know how each of our children communicate so that we can deal with them as individuals.
Absolutely. Tanny.
Yes, I wanted to add first, I want to say I love how Charlotte and Mocha are talking about all these great ways to deal with their child's mental health, especially to talk about open dialogue. I'll add to that positive affirmations do wonders for children. And also Mocha spoke about exercise and being physically healthy. I often tell people one of the keys to having good mental health is exercise, right? Because when you exercise, you are releasing these mood boosting endorphins. I'll also add some other tips in terms of helping children who have anxiety, such as coloring books are a great tool that we use. I know that we use in my practice. We also blow bubbles, and also these breathing techniques where we do some mindfulness and meditation. So we do an activity where we have the children sit. We talk about what you see in the moment, what you hear in the moment, what do you feel in the moment, and what do you hear in the moment. So those are just some tips to help children who have some anxiety.
And if I could add to that, this is so amazing. And as we're talking about what works for children, a lot of what we've said, it works for adults too.
Yes.
I tell my clients, either you're going to take a time out or you're going to act out or fall out, And so a lot of times that helps them to see it from their perspective, because a lot of times we think, oh, I'm the adult, so I should know better. I'm the 80s baby. And I wasn't, during that era, it was just, okay, you do what I say, you sit down, you be quiet,
Yes.
my parent didn't have those tools. She was a single mom doing the best that she could to provide. And, so she didn't have those tools that we're talking about right now. So some of the things that I'll just call myself to the carpet that I've had to work through is learning those tools, and so all of the things that we're talking about that works for children, it works for us too, to make sure that we're breathing. I actually have some activities that I give my clients that are coloring, sheets. Dr. Jacquie, I know you love to blow bubbles. I go and fly kites, sometimes. So just taking that time to just take a time out, for ourselves will not only help us and what we're working through, but then it'll help all of the people that are attached to us, be it our spouses, our children, our coworkers, our teens, our clients, or whoever it is.
And Dr. Jacquie, I'll just add to that. When we don't take a time out, our body then forces us to, right?
Yes.
Once in a while, we have this constant headache, this constant backache, this constant stomach ache. Our body keeps the count of our stressors. So I often tell clients, relax, take a break before your body forces you to.
Our body keeps account of our stressors. So we're missing all kinds of warning signs. At the end of the day, what it boils down to, when you get to the end of your day and you're wondering why you feel the way you do, it often means you need to go back and look at the beginning of your day, see who was in your day, how you addressed the situations and circumstances that came your way, and determine, did you just let that thing fly right by and not address it? Did you at least write it down so you know how to look at it and come back to it later? I think that it's important as we prepare to take our break. We're going to really dive into, in our next series of conversations, what it means to not make any sudden moves. There are going to be days and times when you want to just, and that's the best way I can describe it. You want to take someone or something and just wring it. And I know we wring towels, we wring pillows. We do everything possible before we get to the wringing of a neck. And I think it's important that we begin to value the space that we need to find ourselves in order to be able to make the right decisions. So when we come back after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about decision making before you make any sudden moves.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey everybody, welcome back. This conversation has been nothing short of amazing, phenomenal, and enlightening, all within the same breath. I have learned so much about what it means to take time to pause, to take time to evaluate myself, to understand my feelings and emotions so that I can be in touch with the decision making that comes next. As we invite our group back, I want to have a small conversation and dialogue, and I know it's going to be impactful. So ladies, let's talk for a second. And if you could give one or two things each about why making decisions when you're not heated is important, because oftentimes our sudden moves come from being exacerbated when we've had it up to here and said enough is enough and I'm done with it. So why is it important to have a cooler head when making decisions? I'll start with Tanny.
For one, oftentimes we make decisions that are based on our emotions. We're not making the best logical decisions, right? So one of the things I teach clients is, listen, when you're upset, ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? Is this real? Let's relax and calm down and think about this logically, because when we're calm and we have our emotions in check, we can make the best decisions for ourselves. So it's important to not be led by your emotions, but to be led by your logical sense, in a sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
I love that. So Charles Stanley had this acronym called HALT. And Charles Stanley said, don't make any decisions when you're hungry, when you're angry, when you're lonely, and when you're tired. Because when you make decisions during those moments right there, you are most likely about to make a really bad decision that you're going to regret. And so I would say take that acronym with you and don't make any decisions when you're hungry, when you're angry, when you're lonely, or when you're tired.
I love that.
And I was going to say, I'll add to that something that I always tell my clients is ask themselves, are they responding or reacting? Because those two are totally different. Oftentimes, if we talked earlier about being triggered, if our emotions are, at the forefront, then we're just reacting. And that could be whatever it is that we're doing, saying, it's just an immediate reaction to whatever is happening. But when we stop, take a pause, allow our emotions to calm down, and as future Dr. Tanny just said, really think logically, about it, then we will have a better response to whatever, is happening. And from that place, then decide what it is that we need to do. And sometimes that reaction is what we want to do. What I want to say is what I want to do, and that's not necessarily what we need to do. But when we take a pause, then we can decide, how do I need to respond to this?
And see, what I love is that since we are in a Christian setting, it will be the Holy Spirit that'll sometimes jerk you back, because I know there were times that, because we've been talking about being logical, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, it is so hard to be logical. And for me, I'm like, oh no one will disrespect me, so I'm going to say it this way, and so it's hard to pull back. But I've noticed when I start that day with meditation and I really say, God, order my steps, there have been times that I'm like, oh, wait, did I do what my grandmama said and really stop and choose my battle? Because you do have to choose your battles every single day. You have to think like, wait a minute, am I really about to create the situation that's just going to make everything even worse? So I just think all of it comes with maturity. And if we do slip up and pop off, we just got to give ourselves grace and maybe even say sorry to whoever it is, even if it's the children that you kind of, got hot tempered with at the moment. So,
yes. And Dr. Jacquie, I'll just add to what Mocha said, because you can have therapy and love Jesus. And so I think that's right. In order to be logical, therapy is a great tool to help you, to teach you those coping mechanisms so that you can have them in those moments, so that you are able to calm down and make decisions when you're in a logical space.
And then throw the Spirit on there. And what's that scripture? Lord, put a watch on my mouth. A watch on my mouth and a clock on my mouth and a watch on my tongue. I'm probably mixing it up, but that's where we put the Jesus and the therapy together. So after I say that scripture, then I might be picking up my phone to say, okay, let me call my therapist to make sure, that my spirit and the therapy piece and the logical piece are working together, because they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes we think that, I just prayed about it. Once I get done praying, then I call my therapist.
That's right. Absolutely. I love it.
It does require all of those things to work in concert with each other. What we read, what we hear, who we communicate with, the people that are in our inner court, the people that are in our outer circle, the relationships that we have with people, they all play a big part in how we not only perceive what we need to do, but what will be our next step. And oftentimes a misstep can happen when you don't have the right people in your corner, the right people in your court. You want to be able to pick up the phone and call someone who is going to redirect your actions toward a positive reaction or a positive response to what you're dealing with. Because often being able to give yourself the space that you need to breathe, to think it through, to work out what the consequences will be from plan A, B, C, or D are very important when we talk about not making any sudden moves. When we come back after the break, I'm going to have a conversation with Mocha one-on-one just to determine what happens when you make some sudden moves when you're working out.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
And we're back. Thank you guys for hanging in here with us for this hour that we have on A Balanced Life. I'm excited, as you can see, to have our guest here today. So many conversations, so many things just blowing my mind right now, so many ways. I tell you, you never stop learning how to add things to your toolkit. If you guys get nothing else from watching our show and being a part of the Balanced Life family, let me just say, have people that you can talk to. Mocha, now, I like to work out. I would say that Dr. Tierney likes to work out and Charlotte likes to work out. You know, we kind of get it in from time to time. But, you know, let me see how to phrase this. Because sometimes I can go too hard. I want to get it in and get it over with, and I didn't stretch and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I injure myself. And I would consider that a sudden move that people couldn't make. Can you talk to us for a moment about some of the parallels in making sudden moves in life and making sudden moves in your fitness routine that can really cause damage to being able to work out ever?
Oh, I'm so glad you're addressing this, Dr. Jacquie, because it's so true. If we are not careful with how we work out, how we exercise, and just being mindful throughout the whole process, then certainly we can get injured. And that is a sudden move. So here would be an example. I love my early bird workout, folks, because those are the clients that wake up, get it over with first thing in the morning, because that way it's done and nothing else can interrupt that idea of getting their workout. However, in the morning, if you're just getting up, your muscles are not quite warm yet. So the warm up is essential. And I'm telling you, so many people just say, you know what, let me just jump into lifting these few weights or doing this, you know, cardio. But it is essential to at least give yourself 2 to 5 minutes of a nice light warm up. And what does that look like? It could just be a walk on the treadmill, a few little, you know, stretches, or preferably something to get your heart rate up. But you have to warm up, because if your muscles are still kind of stiff, then they're more susceptible to injury. And that is absolutely not what we want. It is okay to be sore after some workouts, of course. That means that you have definitely worked the muscles and pushed yourself a bit. And when that does happen, believe it or not, I still believe in that old school remedy of Epsom salt in a hot bath and soak in there for about 20 minutes. And you would just be surprised how that sort of pulls that toxicity out of your muscles, helps you feel a little more relieved. And guess what? You better be drinking your water all the time, because the more hydrated you are, the less likely you'll get a cramp or a Charlie horse. And those are the things that just slow you down. And that's definitely a sudden move. If you've ever gotten a cramp and you're just like, oh, that's that sudden move that you do not want. So we definitely have to figure out how to warm your body up, maybe even stretch after your workout if time allows, and just be mindful that the older we're getting, the more we have to actually be careful. And even, you know, recently we had snow here in Maryland, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to remind all my folks about shoveling that snow. It's like everything, you just want to take that extra moment to think about it so that you are not hurting yourself, because once you're hurt, then it's like you're going backwards. We just have to be patient. We really do. Because I know you want the goals like yesterday. You want to be fit, but it's a journey, and you just have to know that it's a daily habit of just working out and being careful with it. So yes.
You used a very interesting P word. You said be patient with yourself.
Ooh, yes.
Wow. Patience.
You know,
I don't know if that's my strong suit. Maybe I have more patience and less tolerance, but either way, I can tolerate a little bit of pain, and you push me hard and I receive that because I know it's done in love. But mentally, when you get injured, it definitely kind of takes the wind out of your sail to really want to do workouts again, to want to try to accomplish your goals, whether they be in fitness or in life. How do you encourage your clients to get over that emotional or mental hurdle?
Great question. Great question. All right. So when my clients get injured, for example, one of my clients, Dr. Stephanie, was in such a hurry to go get a COVID test. She literally was like sprinting out of her house, twisted her ankle on the steps. So her ankle is messed up. Now, when you have a messed up anything in your lower body, you can hardly do any cardio. So I said, Dr. Stephanie, for the next couple weeks, you're going to focus on upper body and abs. You know, there's always a different body part that you can focus on while the other body part is healing, because guess what? The healing is necessary. You have to give your body enough time to heal so that you don't just keep hurting it over and over again. Years ago, when I tore my ACL in my knee, I was like, oh, wow, this is the end of the world. Because if I can't work out, I'm going to go crazy. But sure enough, I just realized like, okay, things happen for a reason. So I'll focus on some other muscle groups. I can still do arms. I can still, focus on nutrition. And that really is a time for people to hone in and think about that food part of being healthy, because that's a struggle for a lot of people. So if you're injured and it's slowing down your workouts, now you can really focus and say, hey, I have an extra couple minutes, maybe I'll meal prep and actually, focus on food. And there's just always other ways that you can get lean and fit, even if you are injured. But like you said, having somebody to talk to is crucial, because otherwise you might get in a little funk and just feel so defeated, like, wow, now I'm gonna have to start all over again. But muscle memory is real. You're never actually starting all over. You're never just completely starting over, but it is hard when you have to get back in the saddle. So just having someone around to encourage you is crucial. I do believe that.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask Charlotte a question as we're talking about this, because Charlotte, in your book, oh my goodness, that 40-day tone of voice, tone down. And you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were a yeller. A part of, in reading your book and talking and sharing with you, you have this grace about you when you're dealing with your husband and your children, and even with yourself. You don't make any sudden moves when it comes to decisions related to your family. Can you share with us what that looks like from your perspective, and how to just deal with life in general?
So, for me, being a yeller taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about counting the cost of everything, because, there's always with every action, there is a reaction, and you don't want we always want the positive impact. We don't want the negative impact. And for me, when I was going through the 40-day tone of voice, tone down, because I had to do it first before I wrote a book about it and took other people on this journey. But I had to really, in every decision that I make, whether it's for myself, whether it's for my marriage, whether it's for my children, I'm always counting the cost. I'm counting the cost in what I say. I'm counting the cost in what I do. I'm counting the cost and the impact on what is it costing me? Is it costing me my relationship? Is it costing me my time? Is it costing me my money? Is it costing me my inner peace? And so for me, I go through this whole level of exercise to ask myself, what is it costing not only me, but what is it also costing my family and those around me? Because those decisions that I make or I don't make, they impact everything and everybody. And so I just really try to take the time to not say yes too quick or say no too often, but I really, try to honor it, what I say and what I do and what I allow them to do, so that, we can have the positive impact and not the negative impact on what could actually happen.
I definitely thank you for sharing that, because I know sometimes Especially in this pandemic, Charlotte, it's been very difficult for parents to, like you said, say no to their kids because they feel like they're missing out on so much. They want them to have everything. And so much of their youth over this last 2 years, they missed out on a lot of experience. What are a few things that you've done with your kids that others may glean from that allow them to feel like they weren't missing out on growing up during this 2-year period?
So over the course of these 2 years, I brought my kids together and we made what I call a bucket list of things that they wanted to do, that I wanted to do, that we wanted to do together as a family. And as we, as the time went on, we would do these things. I mean, and some of them were just like simple things. Somebody wanted a room redesigned, and somebody, what did somebody want? Somebody wanted like a new phone or something like that. So 2 of my older kids got new phones. And then, even though I'm not, an advocate so much of social media, even though I have to use social media for work, but with my older kids, I kind of loosened the reins a little bit, and I let them, get one social media app so that they could feel like, they were connected to their friends and things of that nature. But that social media app also came with boundaries. And then every Friday, we always did Funnel Cake Friday. And so now, because they're back in school, we can't always do it on Friday. So we'll do it with like Sweet Treat Saturday or something like that. But, it's just really, I just really made it a point to be very intentional. And also I gave them opportunities and avenues to be able to say, you know what, you have, one person has one friend who can come over and you can go over to their house so that they would be able to get out and not feel like, because, when you have 7, children in your house and things of that nature, they have each other. So that's the benefit. But then, they also have each other to get on each other's nerves too. So they need somebody else that's not their sibling. And so we let them get out and we let them do some things. And my son got his driver's license. My daughter's getting her driver's permit. Just so many things. And so I was really intentional about, making memories and being intentional about having experiences versus buying things and stuff like that.
That's super exciting. And hopefully on our break, I'm going to ask Charlotte's permission now. One of your kids became a makeup artist while we were on the break, and I can tell you she is outstanding. So you'll get to see some of her amazing work that she has done. When we come back after the break, we're going to have a bit of a conversation and a dialogue about what it means to just hold steady when we're back after the break.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
All momentum momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Holding you together is not always easy, but it's something that we have to do. We can't always fall apart at the seams. We can't just fly off the handle. All those adages that we heard when we were growing up. It's very important as you seek and discover how to have a balanced life that you allow yourself to give yourself time for space and grace and patience and tolerance. All of those things are very important as you discover and learn how to put new things in your toolkit. So as you think about what you're building for yourself in this new season, in our 2020-22 experience, what are you putting in your toolkit? Do you need to share love more? Do you need to share kindness? Do you need to get yourself in a space or state of mind, in a state of being where you really do understand that everything isn't about you? And when I say that, I don't mean any disrespect, but we are all living in this world together. And it's time that we discover what it means to be a part of community, to have a sense of concern and compassion and care for other people. On our show today, we learned a lot about what it means to take ownership of our lives, to discover how to tone our voices down so that we can hear ourselves think and hear others speak. We learned about what it meant to give yourself a space and time to reach out and reconnect. I hope that today we've said something that resonates with your life as you move toward living a more balanced life. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.